I keep refining it until it really expresses what I am trying to say from the heart. So I titled this little paragraph, "This I Believe." This is something I believe very strongly. I have real conviction about. Our most transformative work happens when we create a profound sense of safety and trust that enables us to accompany a child on a journey to a place deep inside, a part of them that may be hidden even from them, and rarely revealed to others. In that protected place of innocence and vulnerability that bears their own unique signature can be found not only what is deeply hurting, but also what is most precious to them, and perhaps their unique and best gift waiting to be unwrapped and given to the world.
Oh. And there she is. Oh.
That was fun.
That was fun. Mommy enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. You were right behind the curtains. That's where you were. Hi, Tammy, and hi, David. Thank you so much for being part of the third annual Innovative Child Therapy Symposium. I am beyond excited to have you on this symposium. We're going to talk about safety in play therapy. But before we do that, I want to give people an idea of who is on this interview. I mean, I literally feel like the magic inside of my body. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to read a beautiful post that Tammy wrote about David. It's in regards to the recent Association for Play Therapy conference. Tammy, on October 19th, sounds like I'm reading some kind of like accord. She said the Association for Play Therapy conference was wonderful, and David Crenshaw received the APT 2021 Lifetime Achievement Award. This is a well-deserved award for all of the groundbreaking healing work that Dr. Crenshaw has provided to the play therapy community and beyond. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. None of us would be in this group if it wasn't for, if it was not for Dr. Crenshaw, who created this amazing playborhood, which is the International Colleagues of Play Therapy Facebook group. So if you're not in it yet, definitely it's a great group to be in, filled with love and support. Many dear friends were made from this group, and I know that we are all grateful. Please join me in congratulating the mayor of our playborhood, Dr. David Crenshaw, for this award. You are so loved. Below is his beautiful acceptance speech for those of you who were unable to attend live. Thank you, Lisa Shapern. She's the one that threw axes with us for capturing this special moment on video. Boy, that beautifully written, Tammy, and Dr. Crenshaw. Wow. I'm like, I don't even know what words to say that would even come close to it. So we're going to talk about safety. Let me have you introduce yourselves briefly, tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll get started.
Well, I must say that that's a typical gesture of generosity on the part of Tammy. Yeah. She always has wonderful things to say about everybody. She's just that kind of person, very generous and kind and warm. And she's been a very good friend for, I don't know how many years at this point, but at least for 10 years, probably more. And of course, she's doing very creative work as well and has made her mark in the field. So thank you, Tammi, for such kind and generous words. I'm lucky enough to work with children with complex trauma in the child welfare system. I had a very busy private practice, and I gave it up to come back to work full-time in a residential, therapeutic residential care is what we call it now, used to be called residential treatment. But I just missed working when I was in private practice with kids who basically have nothing in a material way, but their spirit is what inspires me and keeps me going at this stage of my career. I just love working with these kids. Many of them are very aggressive, but I think that's a sign that they're still very much alive and believe there's something worth fighting for. So I admire that in them. I don't mind getting laid out in lavender half a dozen times each day. I certainly have developed a knowledge of very colorful language over the years, very original, colorful words that I would have never learned on my own. So that's just an example of their spirit, and I love that about them. So I feel very lucky. Never a dull moment. I'm never bored, and each day it presents a whole different set of challenges, but I love it. I'm just very fortunate.
Ooh,
I've been doing it for 52 years.
Whoa.
So a lot of people wonder what's wrong with me, that I would be doing this instead of retiring at age 77, but I'm doing what I love. So I think I'm very fortunate.
Oh my goodness, that like brings tears to my eyes. What do you feel, and Tammi, when you hear him describe his work? I mean, you have.
Yeah, I mean, anything. I mean, David, you've had such an impact on so many of us, and your inspiration and your love for the work that you do. Today, somebody asked me what I did, and they said, your work must be so hard. And our work is such a gift. And I am the most regulated, the most in sync, and the most at peace when I am there with that child in the playroom. And there's nothing else that compares to it. And as you were talking about, David, what you did, I have a private practice in Philadelphia. And many years ago, David and I wrote an article together in the Association for Play Therapy called, I believe it was called Emotional Homelessness. And really looking at, although I had a more affluent population, a very different population from David, still they had the same emotional homelessness, right? This lack of safety, this lack of presence, this lack of connection. So they all had their own attachment wounds, right? Their own ruptures in all different ways. And it was really interesting being able to create this article together and just looking at all children through a different lens of different traumas and what they have been through. But I think part of my love, David, for you, and I think that back and forth is just that the authenticity and the heart of the work that we do. And You throw all the interventions and all the other pieces out the window, and our time with that child. I've been called a child whisperer. And David, I see you so much as that child whisperer. Like, I could be anywhere and a child's just going to come running over to me. I don't know why. And I think, David, it's the same with you, that there is this presence and this embodiment that I think sometimes you can't even teach. That's part of that. This is what we were put on the planet to do.
Mhm.
And it's just so real and authentic of the love for our work, which I think comes out in everything we all do, including you, Jackie.
Oh, thank you. I'm like mesmerized. I can't even believe I'm talking to both of you guys. No, when we talk about safety, I feel that from both of you. And I got to meet both of you at the recent conference for the first time, but I even felt it even before I met you in person, Tammi. I've been following you for years, and Dr. Crenshaw, I'm like in awe that I'm even able to speak with you right now. I'm a little starstruck. But when I think about like even hearing you speak, there's this felt sense of like warmth and safety. Like practically for new therapists starting out, how do they create that in the playroom or in the play, in the whole experience, really?
I think they have to start with themselves.
Yeah.
You have to be safe within your own skin.
Yeah.
You have to make peace with yourself. Acceptance is something that all the schools of therapy include. It's such a basic component, but it starts with acceptance of self. And for many of us, that doesn't come easily.
Yeah.
A lot of us have overdeveloped superegos, if we want to bring Freud into this conversation. And so we have to learn to tame that superego, show the same kind of compassion and acceptance that we want to show towards children, show it also to ourselves. So I think that's where it begins.
So self-care. I know like when we're having a hard day and we think about like our window of tolerance, if we're not in our window of tolerance, it's so hard to show up in a way that, people can feel our vibe and
Absolutely.
related.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And I think Stephen Porges captures this very well. He wrote an article with someone by the name of, I think her first name was Joanne Geller, and they're both, I'm sorry, I'm confusing Stephen Porges with Leslie Greenberg, who are both Canadians, but Stephen Porges is I think at the University of Indiana, if I'm not mistaken.
Bloomington, right?
So he's obviously American, but they combined, Stephen Porges and Joanne Geller, to write an article about therapeutic presence. And there's a physiological safety that's established when the therapist is secure within themselves, centered and comfortable with self, that helps to regulate the child that we're working with. Lisa Dion has a similar idea with her synergistic therapy, that we regulate the nervous systems of, let's say, an aggressive child by being centered ourselves. And if we're not, I heard Bruce Perry talk about this in 2014 at the APT conference. He said, if you have a child whose heart rate is 110, and you have a staff person in your residential program, working with them, and their heart rate is 110, you've got a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it's up here both. Huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not going to be any kind of safety or security in that kind of interaction.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of dimensions of safety in a play therapy room. And one of those is on a physiological basis.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm dominating. I want to just take a breath and let Tammi jump in here. I bet you're wanting to share some thoughts of your own.
I could listen to you speak, David, all day. So I am fine being the listener. But when you talk about that, I think about my favorite quote from Stephen Porges as that safety is the treatment.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
that's right.
So powerful. And yeah,
it's that important.
Yeah, it's that important. And when we're looking at all the neurobiological pieces of it, of them absolutely feeling that feeling our energy and being able to come into the playroom without our own stuff, because kids read it. A nurtured heart approach, they say kids read energy like it's braille. You can't fake it. And that for us to be able to be in a good space, to be able to be clear and present and attuned, right? To match that attunement. I do a lot of work with Marshall Isles, also who I love. And Marshall and I will often talk about just embodiment, right? How are we embodying, right? That connection that we have with our kids. And you just feel this energy, right? This magical energy and this pull, this magnetic pull rather than a push. And we know the pushback is when we use our own agenda, when we use our own agenda rather than meeting the child's agenda and rather than meeting the child's needs. And kids are pretty smart. They feel that energy, they feel that attunement. And I think there's not a lot of places for some of these really intense kids that really have somebody that's very in tune to them, because they're often either right up here and really intense, and other people are getting up here and they're not in this spot of really being fully regulated, because there isn't that person who's able to do it. One of the parents said to me, "Tammi, you do it so well because you're not the parent." And I said, "Yeah, I'm not the parent. I couldn't do it this well with my kids, but I'm not the parent. So I have the ability to put all the other stuff on the shelf and clear my head and be 100% present to the here and now with the child. Not what happened at school, not what's going to happen tomorrow, but just being within the moment. And the relationship within the moment that's how we're regulated, right? That's the attunement of the here and now. And that's what we want to teach them in their body all the time. What does that feel like? What does that feel like when they go take the test, or when they're doing hard things, that they are able to do hard things, because they're doing hard things all the time in the playroom and they don't even know it. But then we could call it out and celebrate that they were able to do all these things that they didn't even recognize. But we're looking at it through a different lens to be able to point that out. And that's part of their safety, that like, we got this. And we're looking at that lens that it's not about catching them being good, that we know that it's them. It's what they have. And we're just helping to match that and be attuned with them. And to be there to provide that safety for them and that healing.
Oh, that's so good.
I'm sorry, Jackie, go ahead.
I was just thinking, the vibe that I'm getting from both of you guys is like, it's okay to be just who you are. Like, I'm not expecting you to be any different. I'm here. And one thing that I get from both of you too, which is interesting, I get it because I know how important the intonation of voice is, but I get it even through your written text, like Tammy's post there, and David, your post in there, like everything that you've written. You wrote me an email. I literally had tears in my eyes after reading it. It was so beautiful. There's this just a feeling felt, that connection communicates safety to where it just makes my body relax. So it is so kind of connected physiologically to, I don't feel tense or nervous. I just automatically relaxed with both of you. And I'm thinking that translates right to if I was a client, I could imagine what it would be like to be in session with either one of you guys. It'd be amazing.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead, David.
the little piece that I sent you, it helps me to clarify my thinking by writing things down. And I keep refining it until it really expresses what I am trying to say from the heart. So I titled this little paragraph, "This I believe." This is something I believe very strongly. I have real conviction about. Our most transformative work happens when we create a profound sense of safety and trust that enables us to accompany a child on a journey to a place deep inside, a part of them that may be hidden even from them and rarely revealed to others. In that protected place of innocence and vulnerability that bears their own unique signature can be found not only what is deeply hurting, but also what is most precious to them. And perhaps their unique and best gift waiting to be unwrapped and given to the world.
Oh.
And it's that last part that I've only recently have been able to fully appreciate. Working with adolescent girls who've been commercially sexually trafficked puts me in connection with some of the most exploited, humiliated, mistreated young people you could ever meet. Their life has just been horrific. And yet, I have never failed yet to find, when I get to that deeper level of connection, a basic sense of goodness, kindness, the ability to be sweet and smile in a genuine kind of way. And that just always touches my heart, to think that even the worst of life experiences can't take that away from them.
Oh, gosh.
Now it requires a great deal of trust and safety before they'll let you see that.
Yeah.
To a lot of the world, they're just angry, tough kids, oppositional, defiant. So it exposes them too much to show that kind side, unless they feel they can be fully safe and trust the other person. But when they reveal it, it's just such a beautiful thing. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not ready to retire, because those kinds of experiences are just so special, so precious. They just keep me going for months and months at a time whenever that happens.
And David, I have to just say, when I hear you talk about that, and of course, I'm reminded of your Fawns and Gorilla Suits, which is my favorite of yours. But you talk about these girls who you work with, and these moments are so rare that it's your relationship, it's your presence that gives these girls these moments that they would never have if they didn't meet you. So it just shows the importance of the work that you do and the type of person you are. And you've talked about this, we've talked about this idea of safety. And Jackie, you asked in the very beginning, how do we express this to new people?
Yeah.
Right. And no matter what theoretical background you come from, I came from a very strict first client-centered background. And like I was told, like, not like I'm going to track, I'm going to do everything, and working so hard to stay within the child-centered type of, all the pieces we need to do. And then it became less authentic to me as I started working and recognizing, wait a second, I have all these skills, all these great theoretical backgrounds to be able to incorporate, to use, to heal. But the most important tool, right, that we know is ourselves.
Yes.
And our authenticity. And I think it's really hard for new therapists, right, to be able, they have their list of all their stuff and all their interventions and all their ways of tracking and of taking that time of just being present, putting that all to side and just being you and that client in the room, in the
Yes.
relationship, without all the other stuff. And that's the safety. That's that piece. We take all those agendas and all the treatment goals and objectives, and you put them to the side, and you have to first have that relationship. You'll never get anywhere without it, ever. I tell, when I do trainings, I say you can read as many books as you want, you could do all the trainings you want, but if you're not a person who's able to connect with your clients and can't value the relationship being the utmost important thing, you're going to get nowhere, and you're in the wrong profession.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And I think about like when they have this safety amidst that, I mean, the world, like what you were talking about, Dr. Crenshaw, the people that have experienced that the world is an unsafe place, it kind of makes me think about like, you're like that light in a dark room. And once you have a light, it's no longer a dark room. And it really kind of teaches them that, hey, safety is possible.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
A recent example, what happened at McDonald's. Just down the road from our campus is a McDonald's, and this particular young lady was working there. And when I walked in the door, I heard this very sweet voice say, "Hi, Dr. Crenshaw." And so I went over there, and it was one of our girls, and she just smiled so sweetly, and she was very, very kind, very attentive. So when I got back to campus, I wrote a card to her about how she touched my heart, because I said it was not only that you were sweet in comparison to the kids we have here in our program, but in all the years I've gone into McDonald's, I've never been greeted that way, in such a kind and sweet way. That was just an amazing experience to be greeted that way. And it really shows that, her basic goodness has been preserved in spite of all the horrible experiences of abuse and exploitation that she has suffered. And of course, she was thrilled and broke out in tears when she read the card.
Yeah.
So she was telling everybody about this, but I didn't want the moment to pass without memorializing it in some way. This was significant. Nobody has ever greeted me that way coming into McDonald's, let alone it being somebody in one of our programs for, just this incredible chronic sense of maltreatment. Just, you wouldn't predict it, not in a million years.
Yeah. And there you were coming into McDonald's like, oh, wow, somebody recognizes me. I'm thinking about you following up with a card for
Yes.
somebody that, yeah, oh my goodness. I truly don't know if I would have thought to do that. That
Yeah,
is such a beautiful sentiment. That's safety. That's the I matter. I'm good enough
yeah.
and I'm seen. I'm like
And
having an experience there.
she will have that card. She's going to hold on to that card forever,
Yeah.
forever.
I know she told her family about it, and
Oh,
they were so happy for her because, you know,
We know that it takes that one relationship that can change the trajectory of someone's life.
yes.
That's the power of our role.
It creates the neural networks in the brain for the other relationships to build on and to follow. It's so profound.
yeah,
Okay.
I love how Bruce Perry puts it. He
Yeah.
says, just as a traumatic event in an instant can change a person's life,
Yeah.
so can a therapeutic moment
Oh,
have a lasting impact and change a person. So these moment by moment changes are something that I don't think get enough attention.
yeah.
But we all have those moments in our work with kids that are transformative.
Yeah. Shining the light on it with the card. I think about too, like he says, the most powerful therapy is love. That card, that recognizing, hey, not only was that amazing, but I've never even been greeted going into McDonald's like that. That's love. That's humanity right there.
Yeah.
It's like I see your goodness. It's right there, and let me point it out. So much to
Yeah.
where I'm going to take my time. I'm going to make a card. That is beautiful.
And we don't talk about it much, but Jerome Kagan, who was the child developmentalist who did a lot of research on temperament, he talked about how important a sense of virtue is to children in their growing up, in their healthy development, a sense of basic goodness.
Oh,
And I don't hear much about that when I go to lectures or conferences anymore, but he thought it was very important
yeah.
that a person have that feeling that basically I'm a good
Yeah.
human being, a good person, and so I think it is really important,
Yeah.
especially if you've been called all kinds of, you're a slut, you're a whore, you're this, you're that.
Shame.
You don't usually feel that you're a good person.
Yeah. It's like the opposite. I know
Yeah.
Tammy Van Hollander and her greatness sticks has changed my work. Like the very first session, having the greatness sticks, now there's cards, which are amazing,
Yeah.
spreading them out. And you could see the kid go from like, yeah, that was me. Yeah, I'm kind. It's like, whoa. So we're not starting off with the parts of me that I don't like. We're not starting off with these pieces that I feel really bad. I'm actually right now we're shining light on I'm athletic or I'm creative or I'm hardworking. It's a game changer. It's a lot of times opposite, especially, gosh, I think about the population you work with, Dr. Crenshaw, that they may have never even heard anything positive, especially to that magnitude about themselves before.
Yeah. That's right.
Game changer. Wow.
And like Tammy said, it's part of it is being seen. That somebody notices.
Mhm.
It's who they are. It's not coming from me, but I did notice,
Yeah.
and that can mean so much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think one of
I
the
see
many gifts
you.
of play, yeah. And I think that's one of the many gifts of play therapy is if you're doing it correctly, kids are really seen, and it is a place where they are able to have power, where everywhere else in their life is powerless. So we get to see them at their best. We get to see them where they get to make the rules, their true selves, their often, right? Their authentic self, where they're not getting the pushback because we're letting them lead. So we get the honor to see this child that sometimes parents never get to see a glimpse of this type of kid. So that's my favorite part of the work that we do, and that I get to see these kids that we have to shed the light that the teachers and the parents and the siblings aren't able to see the kids at their best. We get to see them at their best. Sometimes there's certainly situations when we don't, but we truly see them, I believe, at their best when we're truly in the playroom, do it within the relationship, is when we see who they really are. These amazing kids who just give you goosebumps, who are able to play things out and include you in their world and experience it, and to be witness of their world is the biggest gift you could possibly have.
Yeah. And it comes out through the play. I know in Uno the other day, I was like, you have to change a color. And the kids, I was like, what color do you want me to change it to? And this child's dealing with some pretty difficult circumstances. And then it was just a few minutes later, he's like, what color do you want me to change it to? I was like, blue. And I thought, what kindness. Oh my goodness. It's just so beautiful. Right there in the play. I mean, that's there.
That's what I say all the time when I'm teaching more about the client-centered play therapy. And I actually have to go in 1 minute, but that when we give them permission to make the rules and to be in charge, and we may get backlash from parents saying, right, I'm not going to let my kid make the rules, and that they may be incredibly competitive or oppositional. But what happens, which we see over and over, when we do give kids that space and we do let them make the rules, or we do let them win within several sessions, it's like, now, Tammi, you won this one. You got 1,000,000 points instead of 5, or it's going to be tie. So what's more important, that we're developing empathy. All of a sudden, these kids who are so incredibly competitive and rigid are in the playroom, and they're letting me win, or they're letting us be tie, and they're breaking the rules for me to win. And that relationship piece, that empathy piece, is so much power in terms of the work that we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, I am sending so much love. I have to go heal another soul. But I will talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Wonderful to see you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to drop in, Tammi.
Me too. Well, Dr. Crenshaw, you are such an inspiration to our play therapy community, to our world. I can't thank you enough for being on this, and even kind of sharing other, like Dr. Perry's work and Dr. Porges and all these other people that pulling in their perspectives, and how that adds to this sense of safety. So good.
There are other dimensions such as psychological safety.
Yeah.
To be able to trust us, to know what their windows of tolerance are,
Yeah.
and to remain within those windows of tolerance. There's also the issue of safety in their everyday life. Joe Pelkovitz, who was a researcher working with Bessel van der Kolk, once said that, if a child is unsafe at home, it's like doing therapy in the middle of a tornado or hurricane. The therapy isn't going to be effective under those conditions. So we also have to take that into account in terms of safety.
Yes.
Their total context has to be safe, not just while they're with us as their therapist.
I think
So,
that's such a good point. You think about the autonomic nervous system, if it's activated, to be able to just shut that down is kind of, that just doesn't work like that. I just
That's
read
right.
something from Deb Dana, which is, I think it's fascinating. Safe in your body, safe in your environment, and safe in your relationship. Those are the three
Yes,
levels she points out. Sounds like what you're describing there is like all three, really. Like if you're in the middle of a tornado, you really can't do anything but survive.
that's right. That's right. And you're not going to be able to process, uh, anything abstract at a time like that. I used to work a lot with kids who were in situations of domestic violence where
Yeah.
they would witness domestic violence. And I had to do things in the beginning of the session to
Mhm.
help them feel calmer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was just whistling in the wind. They
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to really hear what I was saying to them until I was able to help them regulate and feel calmer.
Mhm.
And,
So
and so
like that sense of safety, what kind of stuff did you do? I'm thinking they must be, they're probably assuming, they see us as adults, they see us come in, what they know as adults may not be safety. So what kind of things did you do in the beginning to connect?
well, sometimes we'd take a walk. If
Mm,
that was something, being outdoors and in nature, walk through a park or something. Um, Sometimes we do breathing
yeah,
techniques together. With adolescents, they would often come in with music
yeah,
that had a soothing effect on them.
okay.
Um, I like to teach all the kids something that I learned from, um, oh, I knew this would happen. When you get older, you have these senior moments. You might be able to help me. He's the editor of the Play Therapy Journal. Um,
Oh, is it
and
Dr. No, I'm not, yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking Dr. Schaefer, but there was, yeah, I'm not sure.
yeah,
I'll find his name and put it below the video here.
okay. But he teaches a modified butterfly hug where your left hand goes under your right armpit and the left hand goes over your shoulder. And
Mhm.
you just give yourself a gentle hug. And
Oh,
then I like to combine it with breathing, taking 3 deep breaths, hold it a little bit, and then let it out. Do that 3 times while you're giving yourself this gentle hug.
oh,
And,
I feel
and
that.
what it does is it resets the body
Yeah.
to a calmer place. And it's so very, very helpful. I try to do it in the morning before I come to work, try to do it at noontime, and even before I leave the office. I don't
Mm.
always remember to do it each of those times, but I'm pretty good about getting it in at least once a day.
Oh,
And
that's good.
and I find it very helpful.
Oh, I love that. That goes right back full circle what you were talking about when we first got on about we need to be regulated and we need to like Bruce Perry said, if the child's up here and we're up here, that's like a recipe for disaster. So it helps to regulate us so we can be that external regulator.
That's right. And Kevin O'Connor teaches something similar. He calls it wave breathing
Oh, okay.
because he's always lived close to the coast.
Uh-huh.
He'll have a child stand right next to him, and together, it's very important that it be done in a
Attunement.
collaborative way.
Okay.
Together, he'll stand there with the child, and they'll practice deep breathing, three deep breaths. And then if the child starts to get triggered or shows signs of being particularly anxious, we'll say, let's do the wave breathing. So, and again, the key part is doing it together. If you just direct the kid, do the wave breathing, you might not get such a cooperative response. But if you say, let's do it together. More of an invitation than a demand. And kids usually respond to that. And it can help them regulate so they don't spin out of control.
I love how you said that too, Dr. Crenshaw, the more of an invitation rather than a demand. That's safety right there.
Yes, that's right.
Control.
That's right. Oh, I'm so frustrated. I can't think of everybody listening knows this person. He's well known in our field, but I'm coming up with a blank right now on who
I do that all day long. I think that means you have so much knowledge that, trying to pull out names is difficult.
Well, that's a nice reframe. Thank you.
That's what I tell myself would happen. This has been so very helpful. Thank you so much. And I love the piece that you wrote too. So I'm going to copy and paste and put that below this video. But before we go, I want to make sure people know where to go to kind of learn more from you, and maybe any of your books, or do you have a website that I could point them towards?
Well, my books are the best cure for insomnia known to man. I've never failed to see it work. If somebody has insomnia, just recommend any one of my books. It doesn't matter.
Your books are brilliant. You're literally one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. So I'll put links to your books down below, and anywhere.
I'm very active on Facebook. When I gave up my private practice, I gave up my website. So I don't any longer have a website, but I'm very active on Facebook. The group International Colleagues for Play Therapy. I no longer manage that group. A very wonderful person, Pam Dyson, does a beautiful job of overseeing the group. It just got too big for me and took too much time. But I'm very active on it. I post a lot. And then on my own Facebook page, I'm always posting things that excite my imagination. That's my criteria for writing anything anymore. It has to excite my imagination. If you said, Crenshaw, you write an essay about neuroscience, I would have the hardest time doing that. Because it's an assignment. I'm required to write about a particular topic. It doesn't work for me anymore, but the things that excite my imagination, that I can write.
I could see where like your play therapist, true and true. I will put the link to that International Colleagues of Play Therapy Facebook group. That's actually how I first met you, was through your beautiful post in there. That group has grown pretty large. Pam,
good night. Over 7,000 people from all over the world.
The whole world.
Yeah.
All over. Oh, it's
at beautiful. One point early on, I counted 35 countries that were represented. Wow. I have no idea how many there are now, but
that's
really from all over. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we'll have a link down below. So if those of you who are watching, you're not in that group, definitely join that group. It's a great resource, and you can really kind of be amidst a lot of just amazing healers and learn from them. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Crenshaw. It has been a pleasure chatting with you.
My pleasure, Jackie. Thank you for inviting me. And I'll find the name that I'm not remembering and send it to you in an email.
That sounds
Right away.
perfect. And I'll put it below this video.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there she is. Oh.
That was fun.
That was fun. Mommy enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. You were right behind